Hello and welcome back to The Locker Room. I'm your host Spencer Ball, and today I'm joined again by Aaron Barton to discuss the NBA. So the league just returned to action this past Thursday after taking a break for the All-Star games. And first off, I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. They've won the last two games since James Harden's return to the team in dominating fashion, and he got his first triple-double last night in the red, white, and blue against the Knicks. And, they've looked really good with Embiid and Maxey stepping up. And do you think this team can contend for a title this year?
Absolutely. As a good friend of mine, Steve McGill, shout out to him if he's watching this, would say 10, 9, 8, 7, Sixers. I think that this is their glory days. It's what these fans have been waiting for a while. And every single one of these players that they've already had just looks dialed in now that Harden's there. It's been interesting to see because obviously every team that Harden's gone to, that team is pretty much become Harden, except Brooklyn and their just kind of stretch that he was there. But, now that he's here, the pick and roll game with Embiid has looked phenomenal, obviously. His first game he had 27, 8, and 10 on 58% shooting, I think. And, this past game he had a triple-double. So he's here. I'm a little bit worried about the Tobias Harris fit. I think he's kind of, gone to more of a fourth option, which has been a little strange because just a few years ago he was so close to being an all-star. But, and he's also, I think, the fourth highest paid forward in the league. But Tyrese Maxey has been phenomenal. He's been dialed in. First game he shot 75%. Second game now he had more than 20. So I love this new team, and I think that they're going to do great things. I don't think anybody's really going to be able to stop either them or Brooklyn in the 7-game series. We'll talk more on that, though.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They're sitting at third in the East right now, but they've, as I mentioned, won their last two games with Harden joining the team. And as you mentioned, Tyrese Maxey having a breakout sophomore year. And now that Harden's there, he kind of moves into, as you mentioned, like the third option role, which I think is just going to make him get better because now he's not as much of a primary scorer, but he can distribute the ball to better players, but also it's going to be easier for him to find his shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So the standing in the Western Conference, they're a little more spread out than the East this year, but which team is your favorite in the West?
I still like Phoenix. Some people might not like them because of their road to the finals last year, but how I see it is they made the finals and had some injuries. Chris Paul was hurt for a while of their run, and Cam Payne took a big step up, especially now that he's hurt now. I think that they'll be able to do the same thing. Booker's gotten better as a distributor, and, Cam Johnson's gotten better. Mikal Bridges has gotten better. He's going to be looking for big money in the offseason. And now Cam Payne is about to come back from a little stretch of games that he's been out, and he's going to be able to help out on that distributing page to let Booker obviously focus more on scoring. I'm really tempted to say the Warriors, but the last time the Warriors had a squad similar to this, one could say that they're deeper now than they were when they went 73-9, but we all know they lost 3-1. So, I don't know. They blew it, and I think that they might blow it again. I think I like Phoenix right now. There's other good teams in the West, but Phoenix has been the most dominant. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely like the Suns team. As you mentioned, they have so much depth. And, barring any more injuries or just guys getting back healthier, they're going to be really dangerous in this playoffs. And I think they're a team that's kind of not as vulnerable to upsets as other teams, because of their depth, but also Chris Paul's just such a good leader.
Right.
We saw him last year. I don't think anybody really expected him to go as far as they did, and he'd led them, almost to an NBA Finals championship. They were up 2-0 in that series, eventually falling to Milwaukee, but they looked really good. But one team I really like in the West has got to be the Grizzlies. They're sitting at third in the West, but it's also the third best record in the league. But they're just a really good team. They've got a bunch of good scoring options, just kind of a complete basketball team. They also play really good defense. I believe they're top 5 in a bunch of defensive rankings this year. They've got Jaren Jackson, guys like him on the inside. And then John Morant, he notched his career high the other day with 46. So him, Desmond Bane, they just look like a really good team. And I could see them definitely doing well in the playoffs just because they just play complete basketball.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. One last thing on the Suns that I forgot was that before the All-Star break, I know that this is a fact, it might not have changed since then, but Devin Booker was actually shooting 58% in clutch situations that season. that's like phenomenal. But to go on to the Grizzlies, they remind me a lot of the 10-11 Bulls. You know, John Morant gets a ton of Derrick Rose comparisons, obviously, because their games are a little similar. Well, more than a little similar. But why I'm very encouraged by John Morant in general and staying healthy is he's been able to develop skill a lot more. He's gotten better as a shooter, and some of his game is finishing with layups. Obviously, he's got that crazy athleticism, but it's been smart that he's not, gone too far with it. I think that they've advised him pretty hard on, we need to protect your knees. But the difference is, as of right now in this seeding wise, I don't think that Memphis is going to have to pay LeBron. And that 10-11 Bulls team, that was their kryptonite. So, hey, who knows? The sky's the limit for them. You could be right. You could be honest on this, Spencer.
Yeah, I definitely think the top three teams in the West are going to be definitely hard to take down. But in doing so, let's mention some of the lower-seeded teams that might be able to pull off an upset in come postseason time. So who do you think are some of those teams that could be dangerous?
My first team, I'm going to have to say, is Dallas, with the obvious reason being Luka Magic. I mean, the guy just does things that, we haven't seen someone just this innately talented at basketball in, just such a long time. Just watching his game is so much fun, obviously, because I think he might be the best bad shot maker in the league. That's pretty self-explanatory, but, there's a lot of pieces around him. Obviously, the Porzingis trade was interesting for them, but honestly probably for the best because of the games Porzingis was missing. Now they get, you get a shooter in the Latvian laser, Davis Bertans. You get Spencer Dinwiddie, who can provide good bench minutes for them, and get Jalen Brunson in an expanded role as well. So, honestly, I like Dallas. If anybody's going to make noise unexpectedly, it's going to be them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Dallas is definitely a team to watch solely because of Luka, not just in his scoring ability, but just general playmaking. Mm-hmm. He's just a really complete player, and yeah, they're definitely going to be dangerous. Right now they're at the 5 seed, so that's one of the more even-keeled matchups. But the team I really am interested in has got to be the Nuggets. Last year's MVP, Jokic, is playing really good right now. They're at the 6th seed, but they're on a 6-game winning streak, so they're definitely trending upward right now. And we could see them be a team we don't have to talk about in the upset contention. They could just steamroll up to the 5th or the 4th seed. But he's just like a great playmaker. He is practically averaging a triple-double. Mm-hmm. Day in and day out, you just see these stat lines, and he's the best passing big man in the league.
Right.
He still scores at an unreal rate, and they're just, I think, a team that's going to be as I mentioned, the Grizzlies at the number 3 seed. If the season ended today, that would be a really interesting matchup, because I think the Nuggets kind of pose a problem to the Grizzlies team because they have dominant inside presence.
And the most recent report on them came out, I think yesterday, saying that MPJ and Jamal Murray might be positioned to return by playoff time. So it would be a very different Denver team if you're playing with, coming off of last season, I thought that Michael Porter Jr. could take a step up and be an all-star, and a lot of us did too. It's sad to see him face more injuries. He kind of started off pretty weak when he was there this season, but he has the potential. It's sad to see these injuries, but he really does. And obviously we saw Murray after that bubble performance, I'm sold that he can get back to where he was there. I also, on Dallas, I just think that, time and time again, Luka just does things that, you'd never expect it to go in, but you just start to, because some of these shots he makes. I just always go back to his game winner against the Clippers in the bubble. Say what you want about that bubble, but hey, man, these guys were incredible. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. And in the East, technically the Nets are, they're sitting at the 8th seed right now. Mm-hmm. So that would kind of be an upset just based on seeding.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that team plays with, Simmons coming back. He's gearing up to play soon, and possible changes in vaccine mandates with Kyrie being able to play at home possibly. Hasn't happened yet, but something we could see in the future.
Right.
And that would, of course, be a game changer because we saw him have 38 just a few nights ago. So he's playing really well when he can play.
Yeah.
So that team could be good. And another team I wrote down, it's interesting enough, the Charlotte Hornets, because right now they're sitting on the 9th seed. and they've kind of been in a slump, but they just have so much like scoring threats, so much explosiveness. You know, they average so many points that they could maybe just pose an upset threat just because they can just shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
You know, very streaky team. So what do you think about that?
You know, I mean, I think, you know, if you were just saying that to make me happy, you know, I would appreciate that, because from the 704, you know, we love our Hornets. But, you know, as I said, you know, I'm the biggest Hornets fan out there. Do I think this year is our year? No. But, I mean, you know, as he did say, you know, we can get off on good scoring runs. That's for sure. When we get hot, just about nobody can stop us. And the one game that really did kind of assure me that, hey, you know, we can beat really good teams was against the Raptors when we held them to 85, I think. And, you know, we put up, I think it was like 120 on these boys. And man, it was really cool because we played good defense. That's been our issue throughout the entire season. You know, for a large stretch of the season, we were leading the league in both offensive rating and defensive rating, and we were the first team to do that since, I think it was the 06-07 Warriors with Jason Richardson and Adonis Foyle? Somebody's going to get on me for botching that name. But point being, I mean, you know, we're an interesting team to watch. I think in the years to come, Melo's going to keep developing. I love Miles Bridges with Gordon Hayward out, you know. And even when he was back, I think he was rushed into play because he was awful. So, you know, we're reeling. We need an extra push, and I think we're going to be looking to the draft, hopefully drafting my guy Mark Williams out of Duke. But besides that, I don't know. You know, the East is definitely interesting, but I think it's more of a sure thing than the West. But
yeah, I definitely agree with you that it might not be their year, but definitely something to build on in Charlotte. And last thing we're going to touch on quickly is going to be the MVP favorites. So far, my vote's got to go to Embiid. He's having an insane year. He's just crazy scoring efficiency as well as rebounding the ball really well. He's just playing really well, and he's leading his team to victory.
Right. And to everyone watching this, Nikola Jokic is the better center than Joel Embiid. I want to clarify that now. But only reason why I will say that is that he leads in just about everything other than scoring and, God, I think rebounds maybe. But, you know, besides that, like, I mean, Jokic is, you know, he's more efficient. He's a better passer. He's got just about every leg up. But why I do like Embiid right now, I mean, he's the most dominant player in the league. It's just a fact. And the things that guy can do with the basketball with his size is just shocking. And especially with the level that they're playing at and with the amount of games that they were able to win. And, you know, he was able to stay healthy for the majority of it without James Harden. I mean, it was really just him and then Maxey as the second option, and they were able to stay at a really respectable position in the East that entire time. So I would also have to say Embiid is at number one. I would also like to say DeRozan second. I would like to put, just out of sheer statistics, Jokic, but with them being at the 6th seed right now, I don't see him be able to get it unless they get higher up. Also, somewhere in the top, either 4 or 5, I'd go interchangeably Booker and Luka. But that's my picks. So
yeah, definitely. I think Embiid will likely take it home unless we see some drastic changes at the end of the season. But that's going to do it for us this week on Locker Room. For Aaron Barton, I'm Spencer Ball, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep. Thank y'all so much for watching.